Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for the very first episode of X Malice in the official English North American release this time. Yeah, last year Irmuni and I had done some fan translations trying to hopefully psych people up for it and get people interested in the actual release for when it came out. So I want to get past the intro to where I was before as fast as I can, because I really hate rereading things, but I kind of have to because, well, I'm pretty sure Irmuni's translations were impeccable, but my reading was pretty bad back then. I was reading too fast and being entirely too monotone, so it'll be good to reread it anyway. And you all know how excited I am for this, right? I mean, I expect this to be my second favorite Otome game ever, right after Code Realize. I've been waiting for so long. Mineo, here I come. I've been lusting after him ever since I saw that eye patch of his. Alright, so let's go. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. Of course, I'm going to stay as Ichika Hoshino. Isn't this X-Day incident stuff insane? It's so scary! But, alright, I can't read all this stuff because it's going by too fast. Maybe I'll have to cut it from my other reading. Sorry, I'll have to read that because it was way too fast for me to catch. And these are all scenes from the X-Day incidents. I did a pre-prequel video where I did the countdown to X-Day, detailing the events of each X-Day incident leading up to now. So if you haven't watched that, you should probably go back and do it. Report of X-Day incidents. Report of the X-Day incidents. April 1st. The video that started all this played on the giant screen facing Shinjuku Station. That's the one.
In order to restore tainted Japan to health, the countdown to X-Day will now begin. Our objective is simple: purge the corruption from the land, and make Shinjuku the site of its rebirth. If you are afraid, then leave this land. We will not be stopped. But know this, no matter where you are, you will be judged. There are no exceptions. We will resurrect truth in this world. No longer will only the weak be persecuted.
Some people appearing to be police officers were tied up in the video, so police are working frantically to trace the broadcast. Prior to the broadcast, a number of officers had been reported missing. The transmission's origin and the officers were never found, and then May arrived. Another video showing the bound officers, like the one in April, was uploaded.
Thank you for waiting, everybody. The time for judgment is at hand. As we mentioned before, the people here are criminals. In order to cure Japan, such people must be exterminated.
Judgment has been passed as a preview of X-Day.
This is not the end. Henceforth, we will continue to mete out justice to aid our nation's rebirth. Our name is Adonis. Hear me well, listeners. Make sure that you remember this name, okay? May this world become a paradise.
Gunshots rang out during the declaration, and the police officers were shot. The police traced the video to an abandoned building and confirmed one of the officers' deaths. However, other officers' bloodstains were found. The criminal's trail and the missing officers' whereabouts are still unknown. And I said the first time, and I'll say it again, I suspect that 3 of those officers were actually in on Adonis. I think they're in on the game. I think that's why they didn't leave the bodies here. This incident began a chain of heinous crimes that continued into June, July, and August, and the number of victims steadily rose. Public scrutiny of the police grew harsh as times passed, and police efforts were fruitless. A Roman numeral indicating a countdown and a unique coin believed difficult to counterfeit were found at the scene. Markings on the coin led to speculate that the once dismantled terrorist organization known as Adonis had been reborn. And then, on September 1st, okay, so they only related the one X-Day incident. So yeah, watch the prequel to hear the details of the other X-Day incidents. Exasperated by the repeated incidents, the government enacted extreme measures. Shinjuku Quarantine Act. This measure, intended to trap the criminals within the borders of Shinjuku, obviously drew the wrath of the public. Demonstrations bordering on riots broke out, but the government suppressed these and stated that it was for Shinjuku's safety. The government did not stop there. It also adopted unprecedented extra-legal measures. Repeal of the Swords and Firearms Control Law. To provide citizens with the means of defense, firearms were provided to all people over the age of 20 within Shinjuku. It was all under the pretext of self-defense. The firearms and ammo were all coded, in order to quickly determine a shooter's identity whenever a weapon was discharged. The criminals have guns, so the people should be given equal access to arms. Thus, as an extra-legal measure, the residents of Shinjuku District exclusively have an obligation to carry firearms. The law, ratified behind closed doors, was suddenly announced to the public. The police had to obey the government's mandate, and the rest of the citizens trapped within Shinjuku swelled. Though upset, one could say that the citizens were now better suited to survive other incidents. Or they could just freak out and shoot each other on accident. Bad things happen when people are in a panic. It was obvious this plan was full of holes. But there was no turning back. On X Day, all would be reborn, in order for their utopia to become reality. "12:05, 4 p.m. You've reached the SRCPO. Yeah, this is Miss Hoshino on the line, right? This man with a gun is loitering around here again. Please come right away. Masanobu Mochida, 32, local station. Darn it! These things go by too fast. I can't read them fast enough. I'm sorry. It's not like when I had the translations and I had the text sitting separately next to me and I could read them at my leisure. I guess that was one benefit of having the translations.
Was it that granny again, Hoshino?
Yes.
Your face tells me she hung up on you again. How many times is that now?
I'm sorry. She always hangs up before I can say anything, so I couldn't tell her no. You can call her back, can't ya? It is the police station.
Listen, Hoshino. Think about every time we've gone out there. Even when we follow up on her reports, it's always just her imagination, or something that wasn't worth the trip out there. How many times has she sent us on a wild goose chase now?
It certainly is true that we've gotten nothing out of any of her reports so far. But the way Shinjuku is now, we can't be certain that it'll be nothing again. We all know what Shinjuku is.
Well, that's true.
In any case, isn't the old woman just feeling uneasy? Yeah, were you suggesting we just ignore her, Mr. Mochida? Until 3 short months ago, it would have been unimaginable for a common citizen to be carrying a gun like we are now.
You're awful calm about this, Hoshino. If I didn't know better, I'd have guessed you've only been on the job for half a year.
Huh? Really?
Yeah. When I joined the force, I was a lot more reckless. I was pretty much a daredevil after all.
Even now, I think you're too bold. Sorry, I guess I should say hardworking.
Nah. Now all I do in the RSCPO is take complaints and apologize for them, even when people talk crap.
Let's see what the RSCPO is exactly. This is the department of the police that the protagonist works for. This department was created in order to deal with the public calling in to report activity related to X Day.
Back then, the blood would rush to my head. You know, I've really grown up now. Anyway, there's no way the SRCPO would get to work on the X Day cases. That's a real shame.
Mochida's gazing into the distance again. He really wants to investigate those cases. Once the Quarantine Act was enacted, Shinjuku Station set up a service for residents. We've been soliciting tips on the incidents, but we're really understaffed. Special Regions Crime Prevention Office, or SRCPO, comprises officers from many areas. There we go, we finally got the acronym. We mainly deal with calls like the one earlier, or unverifiable claims, and we also patrol Shinjuku to keep the peace. Mochida and I were transferred from the local station here, so we often work together. Shinjuku is a hive of animosity and distrust, so it's not safe to go for a leisurely stroll. Usually when we get a report, we'll hear about how people don't trust the police. But it still looks like there are some people who rely on the police.
You're right. We shouldn't keep that granny waiting too long. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure it's just another guy hanging around that creeped her out for no particular reason. But whenever you hear her out, that old lady really looks relieved.
Well, she lives alone, so I don't think she has anyone else that she can count on. She looks kind of scary, but sometimes she talks about her grandchild. I'm sure that she's actually a kind person.
It probably seems that way when you're the one talking to her. You are good at listening to children and elderly people. Not me. I always want to cut them off and make them get to the point.
Oh, I totally wouldn't get that. He looks like such a sweet and patient guy. I have to agree. Mochida is pretty much exactly like that. Really? He doesn't seem like it.
Hey, Hoshino, this is where you're supposed to deny it.
Oh, sorry.
Seriously, man. You're my subordinate. You're supposed to back me up. That hurts.
Mochida is my superior, but he always treats me like we're equals, so I really like that I can just be myself around him. I thought the police force would have a strict pecking order, so that was a big relief. Though I'd never admit that to his face.
Hey, are you the cops? You seem to have an awful lot of free time.
Huh? I turned to face the voice behind me. A vexed man with a gun stared at me.
It's because you cops are incompetent that we got trapped here in Shinjuku. Get on your knees and apologize to us. You'll accept your punishment, right? Or...
One of the men raised his gun at me.
Stop that crap.
Mochida-senpai, my hero!
Ah! Ow! 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 Ow!
Mochida! Mochida swiftly closed the distance and disarmed the man with an arm lock.
Damn you! Let him go! Threatening someone with a gun has a harsh penalty. You still want to give it a shot? That's... So what? You think I care about that? I won't make excuses for what happened. You can probably tell I'm just playing around, but I don't see any reason for a cop like me to endure treatment like this. Anyway, find a better way to vent your anger that doesn't involve hurting other people. That gun was given to you for self-defense. It's not to be used as an offensive weapon.
Perhaps cowed by Mochida's words, they reluctantly lowered their weapons.
Good. The sun's going down now, so leave her alone and run on home.
Mochida returned the gun he took from the man and shoot him off.
Don't pull that on civilians, you hear me? Don't you ever do that again.
But we're not civilians. Not that that's really any better. The trio retreated quietly, and Mochida turned to me.
Sorry, Hoshino. Those guys.
I know. We'll overlook this, won't we? There's no shortage of people who harbor that kind of animosity toward the police. Obstructing an officer is a jailable offense, though they're not exactly wrong for blaming the police for creating the situation. Mochida must have felt the same way, so he chose to simply let them go with a warning. I recorded the firearm number for their guns.
Oh, thanks. I don't think those guys are bad people. One of them still had his safety on anyway.
Well, maybe he just didn't know any better.
Still, you've matured as a cop. You're calm when someone draws a gun at you.
Yes, it's kind of weird to say that I'm used to it, but I can assess the situation now. Once the swords and firearms law got repealed, I would tremble if I was drawn on. Despite my training at the police academy, I lost my nerve on several occasions when someone pointed a gun at me with hostility. But every time that happened, Mochida stepped in and protected me. It's all thanks to you, Mochida. Watching you handle yourself like you just did has erased my fear of guns quite a bit.
It's something you naturally get used to once you've experienced it. Besides, when situations like that arise, I gotta stick up for my subordinate.
Mochida puffed out his chest and then let out a carefree laugh. He's relaxed like an easygoing uncle, but he's my reliable superior. Ah, what a great working relationship. Why could I never have really cool co-workers like that? When we returned to the station, we could hear the stirrings of a commotion.
Who'd they drag in this time?
Well, crime rates in Shinjuku are at a record high.
Most of them are first-time offenders. It means civilians haven't accepted things yet. As long as there are people willing to dirty their hands, there are still wannabe heroes.
Heroes, huh? Last month, a criminal claimed responsibility for X Day and started shooting randomly. Bystanders gunned him down, and the incident ended without any innocent victims, but there was talk of thank yous and rewards, and more people started to do the same. The criminal died of his wounds, but investigators found no connection between him and X Day. The theory is that he was a copycat criminal. Due to this incident, however, the number of people actively carrying guns increased.
There are some who praise the citizens taking matters into their own hands, but normally our job would be to bring the guy in, despite all that.
Officer Mochida, we don't know who might be listening. Mochida looked around and made a sour expression. He lowered his voice.
Sorry, I know the brass said to suck it up, but this is just so half-assed.
I know how you feel. I'm just as impatient as you are. As a police officer, I also want to help solve the X-Day cases. All I can do is lend an ear to the citizens that turn to the SRCPO. That's all I can do.
Hoshino, I have some business with the local planning office. Can you go on ahead?
Yes, sir. I parted ways with Mochida, and soon I came across a familiar face. Good work today, Saiki. Yuzuru Saiki, 23, local station police box.
Hey, Hoshino. Same to you. Are you off today?
No, not yet. I was just on my way to file a report. We attended the academy together and became friends while we were out drinking. I really like him a lot. We also got assigned to the same office, so we're drinking and venting buddies. What about you, Saiki?
Nope. I'm also stuck here writing a report, the same as you. By the way, we're still on for drinking tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of things I want to ask you.
What? More therapy sessions? You've had it rough since you joined SRCPO. Back at the academy, you were always so fired up. You wanted to make a difference by catching even one more criminal.
Well, but back then, I never imagined things would turn out this way.
Hey, I'm not saying I don't like that passionate side of yours. I suppose that passion went out the SRCPO service window, though.
No, it didn't. My feelings haven't changed a bit from back then.
Oh, there's that spirit again. Yep, that's how you should be.
Without thinking, I flashed a smile in response to Saiki's grin. I feel a bit more relaxed now. How can you not smile back at him with a face like that? Saiki knows just the right thing to say when my mind is like this. He's a big reason why I can stay optimistic in this job, despite all the dilemmas I face.
Well, I was wondering who you were talking to. Saiki, eh? Good work today, Officer Mochida. Yeah, you off now? No, I still have to follow up on some work. Have a good evening.
Saiki bowed slightly toward Mochida and gave me a look.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
You two get along pretty well. You're going drinking tomorrow, right?
Huh? Did I mention that?
Saiki did about a week ago, I think. He came by and told me you were going out, so I wouldn't give you overtime.
Sorry. Saiki's a little too straightforward sometimes.
Well, at times like these, you gotta stretch your wings a bit. Have fun.
I will. After I handed my report off to Mochida, I suddenly remembered something. I should stop by before I head home.
Huh?
Ah, the firing range. When I have even a little bit of free time, I practice at the station's shooting range. I want to improve my skills just in case they're needed. Plus, shooting helps calm my nerves and deal with anxiety. I took a firing stance and took a deep breath. My hands used to shake just holding it. Even when firing on static targets, I was reluctant to hold a weapon for killing people. I was afraid. The day that I dispelled that hesitation was during training one day at the academy.
Oh, you're still here? Your face says something's bothering you again.
Saiki, I don't think I'm suited for this job after all. I'm just shooting a target now, but what if it were a real person? I know I'd miss in that situation.
Hoshino, what do you think that gun is for?
Huh? For catching criminals, right?
That again. Aren't you being a bit hard-headed? I believe that gun is so we can shoot to protect. Not just anyone can do it. Police officers have to train to do so. You could catch a hostage taker when he lowers his guard. You can do that with accurate marksmanship. But if you don't have the conviction and skill to shoot, you might let hostages die. Criminals could escape and commit more crime. It isn't a killing weapon. You shoot to protect. Can't you try and think of it that way?
Yeah, you're right. The reason we're issued guns is because we're responsible for protecting people.
Yeah. Besides, Hoshino, I think that because we're allowed to carry guns, we need to be ready for the worst.
Worst case scenario? You mean where we might have to kill to protect the innocent?
Yeah. You have to be prepared to take a life in order to protect the lives of others. If it were to come down to that, would you have what it takes to shoot?
After listening to his words, I understood what the weight of a weapon meant to Saiki. For him, this was not only a tool for killing, it was a means to protect people. I shouldn't hold a gun without the resolve, and a police officer must be ready to shoot. After that, I devoted myself to training. As Saiki said, conviction alone is worthless. Without marksmanship, a gun would still be just a killing weapon. To make sure that I would be able to protect, I've been training at the range daily. My skills have improved dramatically. In fact, marksmanship is my greatest skill. I'm so glad she's actually working on it, not just being some passive chick. Of course, I doubt my performance in the field will mirror my skill in training. I never know when that time will come, but when a key moment comes, I don't want regrets. As long as Shinjuku stays this way, as long as the X-Day incidents are unsolved, I get the feeling that I'll need to be ready. And it's time. I aimed my pistol again and raised my head. Now let's see if I can get the target without having to reset. Okay, I got it. Good, that's it. Can I do it again? 2 in a row? Pew. Good, that's it. Got it twice. Do I have to do it again? Yep, 3. Got it. Alright, I got it 3 times and I didn't have to reset. Phew! Before I knew it, an hour had passed. An hour at the shooting range? How much ammo did I just waste? I hope they recycle those bullets. In the end, all my shots have formed a tight group in the center. I let out a deep sigh.
Some fine shooting is expected.
Whoa! Surprised by the sudden voice behind me, I spun around, startled. Saiki, you still haven't left?
I got bogged down with work. I figured I'd step out for a breather and saw that you were here.
Oh, were you watching me this whole time? You should have said something. Instead of being a creepy stalker.
You were concentrating pretty hard, so I didn't want to interrupt. Besides, I was enjoying it.
Huh?
I like watching you shoot. It helps me relax. It's cathartic, I guess.
What the heck? Should I be happy to hear that?
Of course, it's a compliment. I respect you. I respect that you're a hard worker and that you try to improve yourself for the future.
Where's this suddenly coming from? You won't get anything out of flattering me. He's always confident, so something felt off. Psyche let out a small chuckle at my attempt to deflect my embarrassment.
You've always been passionate. You started coming here more once the weapons ban lifted a few months ago, right?
Yeah. As he said, it was around then. He knew even though I hadn't spoken about it. I definitely intensified my training after the weapons ban was lifted. Because this hunk of metal, which a trained police officer needed conviction to wield, had been distributed to the untrained masses. The world had turned into a place where people would half-jokingly draw guns at other people, just as those men had done earlier today. That wasn't joking. That was like mock threatening.
You can probably tell I'm just playing around. Still, I don't see any reason for a cop like me to endure treatment like this. Anyway, find a better way to vent your anger that doesn't involve hurting other people. That gun was given to you for self-defense. It is not to be used as an offensive weapon.
When I remembered Mochida's words, the pistol felt heavier than ever. This was not something to be taken lightly. I'm sure that many of the citizens, baffled by the government policy, felt similarly. Some objected to the distribution of guns, but now some people will obviously use them. And not just for self-defense. I don't know what they were thinking when they decided to make civilians carry this burden. I have the conviction to shoot. I'm a cop. It's my responsibility. I'll fulfill my duty no matter what, but...
People who haven't readied themselves now have the power to kill someone with a trigger pull. Yeah, I think that's weird too. The fact that we could carry guns set us apart. We trained to defend the law and had guns to uphold it.
I see what you're saying. Even if the government says this is for self-defense, I think this is wrong. The people who run the country don't want to talk about what they've done here. I'm not in a position to protest it, but I can't approve of a world where people are suddenly made to wield a weapon. Words alone aren't enough. When the moment comes, my skills need to prevent civilians from ever having to use their guns.
Yeah, I won't lag behind you. Although, I don't think I'd be able to beat you now. You've always had a gift for marksmanship.
Saiki strolled away with a brilliant laugh. As I watched him leave, he looked back at me with a vague smile.
Hey, Hoshino. When a criminal is right in front of you, you are prepared to shoot to protect, right?
Yeah. I can now resolutely answer the question that he asked me before. I returned Saiki's smile and settled into a firing stance with my gun. Again. I pulled the trigger without hesitation, as if to demonstrate my determination. Conviction was carved into my heart. I am prepared. December 5th, 10 p.m. And that seems like a good place to stop, I think. So we'll continue on with the prologue in the next episode. Man, I might have to try to do 3 videos today to get out of the prologue. Alright, well, I hope to see you in the next video, which I will have up as soon as possible. I really want to catch up to what I had before, at least. If nothing else, because I'd really like to actually post something new. But I really hope that a lot of you have picked up this game or plan on picking up this game. Maybe I can convince you to pick up the game with these videos. That would be the best case scenario. But in any case, thank you so much for joining me. And I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.